Buddy, are you co-hosting today?
I tried
Buddy.
I tried to wear him out. Oh, now he's gonna yawn. I tried to wear him out before this so that he would sleep through it, but whenever he hears your voice, he's like, "Where's my Mamie? Where's
He
my
gets
Mamie?" But
excited.
he'll fall asleep. But he did a long WALK along the ocean front this morning, so he should be falling asleep soon.
Look at those big dog yawns. Well, there's lots of action around you though, so who knows?
Who knows? I'm sitting in a I'm in Sydney. Okay, well, you didn't need to wag your tail in my face. You do that. I'm in Sydney, which is kind of known as the retirement community of Victoria, but I had no idea because I'm 3 hours behind you. I had no idea there's a very large walking community and there's like all kinds of seniors coming and going. So Buddy's fascinated by what's going on. So
Well,
um,
he's like, why aren't they taking me with them? Really?
I
He
know
could adopt a grandparent while he's there who could take him on WALKs.
that's what we need. I should just like hit up some strangers and say, "Can I just hitch my dog to you?"
Yep. I mean, not hitch it to them, like voluntarily, but like, don't just go.
Well, I mean, but like honestly, he went for a big one this morning, and in between a meeting I had at 7:30 my time, and then we went for a big jaunt, and he's still looking at me like Mamie's in the car somewhere. I just don't know where she is.
I can't find her.
I can't find her, and I'm upset. And then look at me. I'm so British Columbia now. I have my morning latte and my water, and then I had here. I'll show you. See this green
Like,
sauce?
is that guac?
No, it's peanut satay on my vegan wrap this morning. I can never return to Ontario. I'm totally totally digging the I'm gonna have a latte and a vegan thing for breakfast. You may have lost me forever.
I doubt it. You'll be back. I was gonna say, you haven't seen my car in the morning. If I have to go anywhere in the morning, I have a smoothie, I have a coffee, and I have a water, and then I usually have a backup water because I drink a lot of water. And
Yeah.
so it's like extreme. I have to, what I do is I get one of those 4 packs for wine and I put them in there and I transport them to the car because I don't have enough hands for that stuff.
I love that you have the 4 pack of wine and that you're multi-purposing.
Well, the
That's
little
awesome.
bags from like the liquor store or whatever, where you can put your drinks in and it separates them. Yeah, so I have like a fabric bag that it's like, okay, I've got all my zones here. Everything's covered.
I think we should do a podcast on something like that. Multi-purposing stuff you have in your house or in your car. The
All the
stuff I
shit we have.
the stuff I multi-purpose in this car would leave you probably very surprised. It's yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
yeah.
Well, today we're talking to Elaine, right? She's coming back
One of my favorite people on earth.
and we're going to talk a little bit about ageism.
Yeah.
And I've experienced ageism on the other side. I think we're aiming to her experience, but I can add a little bit from the other side, which is helpful to round shit out, I guess. And so,
So when you say the other side, what do you mean by that? Because
like
you're
when I
you're
was young,
you're the young one in this group. So what do you mean by that?
yeah, well, there's ageism when you're young, entering work and like all this stuff. And I work with seniors. I got a whole bunch. I can't tell you all of it right now in the intro. Then I got nothing to add to the conversation.
No, but I'm curious. But I no, I would like to follow back on that because, as you know, I was 25 when I started anchoring, and
Hmm.
uh, there was some ageism going on there with people who had been in the business for a very long time, and
That's
there's
what I'm saying. It's
yeah,
kind of like it's
yeah,
out there, right? So let's talk about it. We'll
okay,
talk about all of the angles and bring it out to the light like we do.
yeah. Before we go though, how are you?
Oh, I went knee deep into designing my book cover yesterday. I'm
Mhm.
not at a point of anywhere close to publishing, but I did spend almost 10 hours this weekend writing, which was good. And then I like the creative side. So then I got into that because I was looking at like ideas. So that's what's going on. Other than that, I did nothing because I had a very busy 2 weeks, which was a lot of peopling. And so with a lot of peopling and a lot of late nights, Amy doesn't have much more. So yeah, I just
Yeah, you're not neither one of us are big on the peopling, which I know sounds hypocritical given what I used to do for a living, but I found it very overwhelming to have a lot of peopling in consecutive days.
yeah, it's not like hypocritical. It's that we just need a lot of recovery time. It's not that we don't do it. It's not that we don't get something from it. It's just that like it takes me a good amount of time. And when there's multiple events and multiple late nights, the late nights really compound it for me. I don't do well after dark. So there's multiple late nights, multiple events that I'm out of the house for. It just gets to be a lot where I just need like sort of like your fainting goat where you nap out. I don't nap, so I don't fainting goat, but this is kind of my equivalent.
We should just before we get to Elaine, we should explain that if you have not ever Googled video of fainting goats, A, do that. And B, that's what happens to me when I have a really stressful event, is that I just need to curl up and go to sleep. And that's what fainting goats do. So,
And
the people that know me well know that if I have a particularly stressful day, I will pull a fainting goat and I just keel over and have to have a little nap.
and she doesn't tell any of us, and we could be mid-text, and then you're like, "Oh my God, is she dead? Where is she? What happened?" And then you're like, you don't hear back for hours, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Sorry, I had to do fainting goat," and you're like
Fainting goat.
waiting for an answer, and you're like, "What's happening?" So
Yeah.
you got to tell us. Be like, "FG out." That's all I need from you is just tell me, and then I'll recalibrate later.
That's gonna be my new code. FG out. Back in 2 hours.
Yeah, I feel that's good.
Oh,
All
Elaine's
right.
texting me, so I'm hoping she's there. If not, I'll text her. But I look forward to this because she is one of the most remarkable 70-year-olds. She just had a birthday that I've ever met.
All right, let's bring her in.
So, Amy, today, one of my favorite people on the face of the planet is here today, Elaine Lindsay. We're talking about a difficult topic, which is ageism. And when I was in Ottawa for those really fun medical tests with the insurance company, I got to have a birthday lunch with Elaine in Little Italy because she turned 70. And ageism is a very big part of, I think, a lot of things for women. I'm 57, and I know that there has been some ageism in the industries that I have been a part of. On camera television might be one of those. And Elaine is a champion. She's wonderful. Please look at our previous episodes with Elaine because you'll understand the physical trauma and grief that she's been through. Horrific, horrific things. But today we're going to talk about being one of the coolest people in the YouTube and online and AI spaces at 70 years old. Elaine, I'm happy to see you today.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to see you as well. Uh, it's it's so hard to wrap my head around I'm 70.
Right? Me too.
It just until I look in the mirror and then there's this old woman that keeps looking back. It's like, what are you doing in there? I wonder if she's as cold as I am. That's an old thing.
Oh, I can't wait for that because most of the time I'm sweating and burning up. But no, you're not an old person to me. And one of the things too, Amy, before we sort of get into it, is you keep your mind, Elaine, highly active. New technologies, new things to teach people. I sat in your office while you set up my YouTube channel and you're whizzing around on all these big screens and doing this and doing that. And I'm just looking like a deer in the headlights going on. I have no idea what's happening right now. So is there any magic to a youthful older body?
Disposition.
It's yeah. Um, the weird thing is, I don't notice ageism as much as most people because until a year or two ago, mentally, I was like 12. Anybody who knows my story, or if you happen to see the earlier
Mhm.
show that I did with you guys, would know that I went through a massive amount of trauma, and a lot of it in a very short period. And I retreated to 12 years of age, which makes some things in life really bizarre because you continue to age chronologically. I got married and had children and did all that. No wonder my kids' friends like to play with me because I ended up being younger than most of them.
Yeah.
So I never went into a job thinking, am I the right age for this? My issue was, am I good enough to do this? Am I worthy to do this? Or I didn't go to school. By the time I was 20 years old, I was crippled. I didn't get to do an awful lot of things. So my thing was always, oh, I'm not qualified. What am I going to know? And early in, I think it was 2012 or 13, I got a business manager, and she's very no nonsense. And she said to me, okay, you are, what is it? Digital integration and optimization. What university taught that back when you went to school? I said, what do you mean? She goes, nobody taught that in the 70s. Nobody knew what that was in the 70s. Hell, they didn't know what that was in the 2000s. So how could you have gone to school for that? And it caused me to start shifting my attitude about what I do. And let's face it, you spend years in hospital. You have a lot of time to study stuff. So I wasn't doing anything else but learning. So I finally took it upon myself to understand that actually, you know what? I am an expert in the digital area, and I do, as they say, know my shit. And I absolutely love what I do. But I think it's that if you have a youthful mind and if you're constantly curious, people don't ask me how old I am. People never believe me when I tell them how old I am. And the only humans who do are kids under 10, like my grandson, who said, like, oh my God, you are old. And that's because his father thinks he's funny and has always told people his mother is as old as dirt and played with stone Barbies. So there you have it.
To be fair, just so you know, you're not alone. My daughter also does that to me, and she like just drops over, and I'm like, come on, like, oh
Yeah,
my God.
they really, it's amazing how, I don't know, forward they are.
Well, and especially when they start, like, she's 7, so it's like when they start counting, and then like they go up and up.
Yeah.
And it's like she just keeps going, and then it's like she realizes how far away from zero any of our ages are, I think, is what happens.
Yeah, when you see them compute that for the first time when they're like 3 or 4, and you're trying to tell them, they ask how old you are, you can see it's like sometimes the numbers just don't go that high yet.
Yeah.
And when they do, it's such a revelation. It's priceless to watch.
But I want to dig a little deeper into employment opportunities.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
that, I know that you're self-employed, going into a boardroom that statistically we know is probably going to be men, percentage wise, white men. But age is a fascinating thing, right? Because my dad, my grandma, and I were all 25 years apart. My dad was 25 when I was born. My grandmother was 50. I'm now 57. So when I was 7 years old, I started to have really active memories, and I still have them, of my grandmother. Because 57 seemed fucking old, you know? And now that I'm 57, and I think, I don't have grandchildren, but I think, um, how interesting it was to me to see age, but socially speaking, it's a little different than business speaking, right? I mean, I aged out of, one profession. And do you ever experience that kind of boardroom look of shock or discrimination, or why would we hire you when we could get a young whippersnapper that knows about the internet, when you know more about the internet than anybody that could be in that room? Has that ever happened to you, or do you feel it, or do you just don't care?
I don't, I've never approached things in a way that gets that kind of feedback. So whether I'm talking to a Gen Z or the latest crop of, I don't even remember what they're calling them, Gen
I
Zs,
think
millennials,
Eva's alpha,
alphas,
apparently.
yeah, the new alphas. I've never approached another generation as a different generation. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Age has never been a constant in my life. I know a lot of people kind of automatically give people an age. I am the world's worst at guessing how old somebody is, because now I say everybody looks like they're 12, 13. You go into a doctor, a new doctor, and they like, does mommy know you're here? Like, did mommy put that coat on you? It's terrifying. And even, the pharmacist or the in the business arena, I went in to do a talk, and at the head of the table, I thought it was bring your kid to work day. The kid sitting at the head of the table looked like somebody's little kid, and he was the CEO. But I wasn't approaching it as, well, this one's that age, this one's that age. Didn't matter to me. My thing is always, okay, what's your baseline? What do you know? Do you understand digital integration? Or should I go back and talk about having a website? Those are two very different areas, and there's an absolute gulf of information between the two. And it's a way to sort of figure out what people know without having to ask them, I guess, how old they are. It's net. I was racking my brains for the past 2 weeks about this, because I talked to a group of women. They had another party for me, and I was talking about, is there ageism in your area of expertise? And it's probably 3 to 1. So I found it's people that are, I guess, age unaware or age inappropriate. My hair has faded lately. My hair is usually deep blue,
Mhm.
which is not what you normally see. Now, I know in the last 10 years, a lot of older women, it's no longer that funny blue rinse. People will get a little purple or pink or whatever. My hair's been blue for 13 years. Okay, some form of turquoise or blue. It just made life simple for me because I'm a speaker. So when I go somewhere to speak and someone's going to pick me up at the airport, I can just say, just look for the woman with the blue hair and the cane. It's pretty specific, you're not going to see 40 of them in any space. But I know that an awful lot of people, well, your age, Timothy, and going up, are entrepreneurs, or they're starting a second career, they're starting a new career. Because what we're not talking about, what we should be talking about, is this retire thing. Okay, why do we have to retire? We can just move on to our next phase of whatever. But I've found for a lot of people, when you tell them they're going to retire, some people do, they retire and within a month they're dead because they no longer have function
Or purpose.
or purpose. Exactly.
Mm.
And according to the Business Development Bank of Canada, Canadian small business, small to medium businesses, 61.5% are owned by people over 50.
Wow.
That is huge. Okay. That is more than half. We are keeping the economy going. So if there's ageism, people need to slow their roll. We are here, we have like ludicrous amounts of experience. Some of us have done every wrong thing known to man, and we can help you avoid that if you want. But one thing I do find that's really interesting is the young Gen Zs are really open to hearing about our experience. And well, how did we deal with this or that? A lot of it they don't comprehend, including telephones you had to go to.
On the wall.
Yeah. It's like, what do you mean it was on the wall? So yeah, our phone was in the foyer. You had to go, it was on the wall. You had 5 feet of cord because my mother and father did not want anybody hiding around corners chatting. God forbid you were chatting to a boy. All of the all of those sort of standardized things. You used to get a job, you worked for 25 years, you got the gold watch, and off you sailed into the great blue yonder. And they have, oh my God, what is it? The grumpy pills and the, when you reach 60 or 65 and have a birthday, most people bring you gifts that are all jokes about your age, about retiring, about keeling over, about, just going to grow roots and disappear into the grass or ice flows or whatever. That's not the norm anymore. And sadly, a lot of it, and I bet, Kimothy, you see this on the road, it's because people don't have an option. They are working because, damn it, the body wants to eat. Or, you want to keep gas in your vehicle. You want to be able to have some of the nicer things day to day in life. And to do that, you have to produce the funds for that.
But that raises a really good question, and is so who and this was very prevalent in the southern United States when I traveled there all last winter, is 65. They find out that their benefits in the United States different than ours, but Social Security are just not going to measure up after a lifetime of working. Somebody has decided that this is the time that you go out to pasture. If
Yeah.
you're saying that the newest people coming up, it's not them. It's not, like, who is telling us that it's time to go out to pasture, or is that just a idea that is antiquated and needs to get kicked to the curb?
I think it needs to be kicked to the curb. But the fact is, boomers are telling boomers that,
Yeah.
we're supposed to be, you've got almost a divide. There's more than 60% who think you got to be more to life. I'm not going to go sit on my ass all day and do nothing. And then there's the 40% who, well, no, my mom and dad, mom stayed home, dad had a job, dad got his watch, and then he went and lay in his recliner. Well, first, to me, that's not life.
Yeah.
Okay. Like some days may be a struggle, but for God's sake, you gotta have purpose. You have to want to do something. And I think our next Gen Y or whatever you are,
Alpha.
Timothy, is
Oh, the
you?
next one.
That's you too?
No, I'm a millennial. Eva's an
Oh,
alpha.
okay. Well,
What are
my
you,
daughter
Kim?
and her crowd are and I think you too, Timothy, because you fall in that. My daughter's 52. And so I have a millennial as well. God help us. The millennials are an
See?
yeah.
Ageism right there.
Yeah, okay. That kind, it's not even the ageism, it's the attitudism.
You know what's funny is as a millennial, so what I am not enjoying is that I have been called a geriatric millennial because I'm at the first of it. And apparently, the first 2, 3 years of millennials, we don't act like the rest of the millennials. We apparently, this is the stuff that's been fed to me, I've looked into or whatever, that we have like a different work ethic, give similar work ethic to the generation before, things like that. The other part of this is, well, not millennial part, but also when I had Eva, I was older and it was a geriatric pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I mean, calling me geriatric multiple times in my life and I'm under 50 is like sort of painful. It like hurts my heart a bit.
I can understand. Oh my God. Yeah, geriatric, I really don't like that at all. But the fact is, okay, and it's been proven and people can look it up. When you start telling people they need to wind down, okay, that's what happens. And their bodies take the cue from them.
Yeah.
Okay, wind down, things slow down till they're not working anymore. This is not necessarily how a human was meant to go. There's nothing says we all have to be dead by the time we're 100. Like, why should that be? You want to live more than that? Have at her. But I think we have to instill in every generation that you have to want to go forward. We have to look at even specifically comedy. We have to start punching up, is what they call it in comedy, punching up or punching down. All these cards about how old you are, and I make the joke about being as old as dirt, and I do it because I think it's funny, because it's never held me back or stopped me or had me think, oh my God. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about my age. It doesn't have anything to do with who I am or what I do. I learn what I want to learn because I'm a curious bitch. That's the bottom line. I just want to know everything. And I just assumed always that people were like me. You want to learn everything. There's something new. Well, come on, let's go learn. And that, to me, that spark is what keeps you going, and keeps you going on days where you shouldn't be going anywhere. Days where you should be just sitting with a cup of tea.
You know, one of my favorite comedians, Leanne Morgan. Do you two know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So she just finished a 150 city tour. She is hilarious about the aging process.
Yeah.
And her big success came at 59 years old. She just turned 60, and she was just on Jimmy Kimmel and a whole bunch of other shows. And she just kept plugging away. And what you're talking about, Elaine, is that she just knew that she was going to be different and that she wasn't going out to pasture. And that's an antiquated idea, right? That we go out to pasture.
Yeah.
I mean, if we believe what I was raised to believe, I would be retiring from everything in 7 years. 7 years? No, might be shorter than that. Yes. Well, about that. And,
Close.
yeah, you both know I went to summer school for grade 10 math. Um, and I don't feel like I'm going to be sitting in a lazy boy chair in 7 years. Like I don't even have a lazy boy chair. I don't own a lazy boy
Oh,
chair.
get out
But
there.
the other thing that I wanted to ask Amy about is, do the older people discriminate against you because you work with seniors? So
Mhm.
they're a bit of a reverse ageism, because when I was in my early 20s and hitting work benchmarks that were far above my punching weight, I was called kiddo and, you young people. And it was almost like there was a bit of um, bias toward me because I was a fairly successful young whippersnapper. Do you get that, Amy? Because you work with seniors and you
Mhm.
quite honestly look younger than your actual age.
I was telling Kimothy at the top of our show here that, when I graduated university and college, which is the regular age of anybody, I was 24 when I entered into retirement living. And basically, it was assumed that I didn't know anything. So, I mean, it's always been interesting to me that because I've worked with seniors for 20 years now, right? So it took a really long time to get past that. And it's always been of interest to me of, you're expected to have experience, but you can't get experience without experience, right? And so as a 24-year-old diving into retirement living, I started in recreation and I just didn't like it was good for about 6 months and then I went into marketing and that's where my passion was, more competitive, more fast moving or whatnot, as well as many other parts of it. And that's what was said to me very frequently for many years. Like, aren't you too young to work here? Like, aren't you too young to do this? It was like I wasn't allowed to like progress past, right? Like a 24-year-old shouldn't be working in marketing in a retirement home, right? Like, what did I know? And it was sad because you're trying to make your name, you're trying to progress professionally. And people weren't super being malicious about it, but there was definitely a tonality around it. And like it would be like some people would joke about it, and then some people would just like look me in the face and say that. And I didn't have the backbone I have today, but like I often wonder if I would have just, if it was me of today, just asked them like, how am I supposed to get this experience? If I'm not supposed to be a young person doing whatever. Like, is that just because I work with seniors? And then are you being ageist? Like, where, like, all these different things kind of come out, right? And it's been always interesting. And every time, like, people don't ask me that much about my age, but it comes out, especially when Kimothy calls it out every week on our podcast. And so it comes out that I'm in my 40s, my early 40s, right? And it's like people are just like baffled. And they've said that to me my entire life because we have good skin genes, right? Like my family, we look younger, which if I can't get much, at least I got that. So it's, at the end of the day, and they met my parents and like, oh my God, your parents are so young, right? And it's just like, okay. Like people just wanted to talk about my age and like a lot more than I was interested in doing. And you couldn't get away from it.
So,
It's funny. So sorry to interrupt you there, Timothy, but it's funny that you're saying that because I started off all this by saying like doctors look too young and blah blah blah. So I'm being ageist in those things because yes, we all need the experience way before we have a chance to get any. And that's that constant issue is how do you get ahead of it? How how old do you have to look to be able to fit the area of expertise that you have?
Hmm.
And it's funny because it's not just seniors, it's anything, whether you're in STEM or you're in IT or you're in real estate, we all need experience to become proficient. Okay, the 10,000 hours thing. Well, you can't pick that up at the supermarket.
No.
You actually have to go through the time to become experienced. And oh my God, I have to rethink how I talk because
Well,
because
but
that's
are
wrong.
you, I don't think that like to your point, I don't think that you're actually saying that to the doctor though, either. Like you might be
I
saying
have.
that. Well, I got no defense for you then. But
Yeah, sorry.
there's thought process around it, which like we can't control people's thoughts and they can do what they can, and then there's actions that come after, right? So, it's just a very difficult situation because a lot
Yeah.
of the ageism that we hear about comes from the other end of it, the older side of it.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? Like it's like it's just that I think that it's been an interesting eye opener for me. And to your point before from what we were talking about is that like I think about my parents' age when I was 7, like my daughter, right? And
Yeah.
it's like when I got to my 40s, like I just didn't feel any different. And I was like, I felt like 40 was like so far away from me at one point. And then when you get there, you're like, oh, like wait, yesterday I was 39, today I'm 40, I don't feel any different, right? So it's like all in like how you use it, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's been
Well,
interesting.
I have a question for both of you because this is, a show on mental health. Is does that either, the younger and wanting to be more experienced, or the more experienced feeling like maybe they're being kind of pushed out to pasture? For both of you, what is the intersection with mental health and how we can take ageism, perceived or our own feelings about it, and boost our mental health? I mean, I love Elaine's perspective that it doesn't matter, but some of us might need a few more tools to get into doesn't matter, you know, and to
But
be
I obviously need, yeah,
that.
I
With
obviously need some tools because I've as much as like it doesn't matter looking out from inside, it obviously mattered enough that I made jokes about people being younger and not having the experience.
Elaine,
Never meant
did you just
maliciously.
get schooled by a millennial?
I did. I did.
Totally not on purpose.
And oh, no, no, but it's important. And
Yeah.
well, Kimothy knows me that I'm more than happy to learn. And I have friends who wrote this book. It's called, uh, is it Gray or Silver Goldfish? There's a whole list of books in the Goldfish series, but it's about the generational changes and how there is a matrices that works on pairing up different generations and what you need to pass those gaps and how you can work within different generations on a business front. It's Stan Phelps is the original author, and I think the other author is actually Canadian, Chris. Sorry, I'll give it to you so you have the notes. But they do have this matrices at the back that people can use, and it really is helpful. But until we're confronted by the idioms, analogies, and weird tropes that we get stuck inside us, we don't necessarily confront them or change them, or in some people's case, do nothing with them. I will definitely change them because comedy is a big part of who I am and what I do. And I think it's more important to punch up than anything else, especially in these times. But understanding that it can be hurtful in that reversed way means, wow, yeah, I have a lot of rethinking to do because that was never my intent.
Mm.
But it's obvious that it can be taken that way. And I think that's part and parcel of this huge change, this enlightenment that a lot of us are going through. I won't say all of us, but a lot of us on the planet right now are becoming more enlightened. I will not use the W word here because it makes no sense. It doesn't follow the definition, and don't get me going there. But being able to look through someone else's eyes and be able to take from each generation the values that they offer, because I can say, and I've said this forever, millennials started the wave of being so much more conscious about the world and being considerate about the world around us. We boomers, oh my God, we were just absolute crazy people who didn't think anything about the planet. We didn't think anything about the ozone. We didn't think anything about anything. Like, oh, plastic, yeah, give us more. Garbage, give us more. I mean, it was the ultimate of consumerism. And now we're getting millennials and then Gen Z and alphas who are committed to not leaving a giant footprint and to making sure that they're giving the world and everything in it a chance. because maybe we may be the only real sentient beings, but boy, do we have a lot to learn.
I think there's like, a lot to say as well. I mean, millennials, to your point, yeah, like we think different, right? And
Yeah,
each
yeah,
generation does.
yeah.
And the other thing that's come up a lot in my readings and research in my life, because I'm estranged from my family, there's this like motion that millennials are doing this and that like millennials are like in charge of all this estrangement that's happening and it's all the millennials fault. It's a very pass the buck type of, blame the abuser scenario. Lots of other people are becoming estranged. But to your point, I think people look at the negative pieces of each generation as opposed to why or what's happening. And, because I'm dealing with this and it's front of mind, like it's very dismissive to say millennials are the ones that are stranging. And it's like this whole like problem we have. And it's been a very interesting learning curve because it's not that it's just us. It's just that we're done. Like the millennials are sure we might be the one making the most wave. I can't like quantify that, but it seems as though a lot of us are doing it, and it's because we don't give a shit anymore. Like we're done dealing with these situations that have tethered us, and we've tried to make our way in the world, and they just pull you back. And I think to your point, like we're just doing things differently. There's been enough generations. I've tracked my family tree back to like 100 AD. Like there's been all these generations before us, and yet for some reason, I'm the first one. Like the millennials are the first
Yeah.
one, or ish, right? Like they're
Well,
like in
yeah,
the realm.
Amy, I think that estrangement has existed for a very long time, but social
Absolutely.
media has
Yeah.
allowed that to be shared. I mean, I certainly know of one of my grandmother's sisters who was estranged because she got pregnant in, I'm going to say, the 1940s, 1950s. So she was literally put out, just put out. But
We've got one too.
we didn't have social media to share that, you know, experience. And maybe there is a good thing that social media has told some people, like, as you know, I was estranged, is that there are other people like us. Whereas in what, let's call it the olden days, before
Didn't
so
know.
we didn't know that we had people
Yeah.
who relate to our experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we talk about um this issue, maybe there are some benefits to the fact that we now share information and experiences as long as we don't weaponize that. I mean, I hate social media for the,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
looking at something just last night and it was just like a nice picture of our former prime minister doing his flu shot. Well, if you read the comments, like you're wondering, like, who are these people who are just like spitting out vile stuff about the fact that the man now in private life got a flu shot? So, you know, maybe part of what Elaine does in her expertise in technology is we have to do a better job when it comes to ageism of, and I mean ageism against senior people, against, you know, oh my God, I'm postmenopausal. So that means I'm not like cool anymore, to, you know, younger reverse ageism of, oh, you don't know what you're doing because you're only 22 years old. Maybe we need to do a better job of taking the messaging that we're like the onslaught that we get every day in social media and realizing that that might be an opportunity to find our people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, it's funny. I've been talking to a lot of different people lately. And somebody else who turned 70 the same day as I did. We had this little chat and she said, "Oh my God, are you as excited as I am? Like this is the decade where we can just do anything we want, say anything we want, go anywhere we want. And nobody gets to put in their 2 cents. It's entirely up to us." And I thought, oh wow, okay, that's a really different way of looking at it. But it's like you no longer have to answer to anybody. If you have children, they're grown. It's not like you have to, well, unless you have fur kids that you have to come home to. That's about the only thing that you got to come back for. But it's such a refreshing thing to have someone give you a totally different a perspective on something you hadn't thought about. My thing was I had no intention of retiring. Whether it's financially feasible or whatever was never the point. It was I don't want my mind to rot. If you do nothing, if you have no purpose, you're gonna turn into a bowl of jelly. Like if you don't
Yes.
use the brain, and on that note, this is why I'm off on this next career. I have taken on a challenge for Canada. It's called the Baton of Hope. It started in the UK. It stems from my work with suicide loss and ideation and mental health. So on here is good. But I want to take it one step further. We talk all the time about prevention and postvention. I want us to talk about life preservation because each one of us has the strongest, brightest machine ever created inside your head. And yet, we do not teach children how to manage their brain. We don't teach them about their thoughts. Most of your thoughts aren't real. Some of them they're not meant to be, they're not meant to be acted on. And a lot of them aren't even ours. They came from someone else, be it a parent, be it someone in a park, be it whatever. Nobody gives kids the understanding of what it is and what you can do with it. And we're seeing those changes in millennials. We're seeing them in the Gen Zs and the alphas. They are questioning more about, well, what's it all about? We, as baby boomers, we it took a lot more at face value. When I was very young, you were taught that the doctor, the lawyer, the dentist, and the nurse, the teacher, they were all powerful. Whatever they said went, and you were just to sit there and listen. And that does not hold water anymore. And it doesn't hold water, and for some of us, it never did, which meant we did a lot of detentions and got in a lot of trouble.
Some of us. Some of us.
Some of us. But all of that to say, this is a huge purpose, and people have already questioned, like, are you kidding me? You're 70 years old. You're putting something together to trek across all of Canada at 70 years old. So, well, yeah, I'm not gonna be the one walking. Like, I'm not completely crazy. But if I do something at 70, just think how much more prepared I will be at 80 to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me, I think is the crux of it. I have never I've never looked at age as like a backward or a forward. It's a chronological thing that I don't seem to have any effect on. It's just there. Maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I'll live to 150 or who knows.
I would bet.
Yeah, I'll get lots done.
I would put money on that. You're amazing.
Yeah, well, I'll be the last one with the cockroaches. I'm going to learn how to click so that I can talk to them.
Oh, Elaine, thank you so much for coming back on today. We appreciate you having this conversation. Maybe we've sparked some conversation. If people are watching on YouTube, give us a comment. Let us know if you've dealt with this before. Elaine, until next time, and for our viewers, we'll see you on the inner shift.